So I've been doing experiments quite lately with my water temperature gauges, and I've been seeing a problem. In fact, I started to see a problem at the initial times when we installed the new engine on the car. What I would notice is that now what happens when you've got an Alteza, you know that it's got an original equipment manufacturer's water temperature gauge, which is supposed to work right with the original motor. So when you put this new motor in, it would appear as if it's working, right? Because what I then noticed is that it would rise, right, and it would get to a certain level, but it would not rise beyond that level, right? And it got me worried, right? Because then it meant that I didn't have anything to tell me if something wasn't right, if something was going wrong with the coolant temperatures, right? We even created a scenario where we're monitoring the temperatures rise on the diagnostic tool versus what the gauge was showing us, and it was just two different things that we were seeing, right? So we ended up getting an aftermarket water temperature gauge, right? And with the aftermarket water temperature gauge, it didn't solve the problem, because then we would notice that the temperatures would just rise up to, I think, about 60, would rise from 40 to 60, and that was it. Nothing beyond that, right? And from then onwards, I was just on a search to look for the best, where I could find a better water temperature gauge that would really tell me what's going on, right? And what then really prompted me to do that particularly was the fact that there's one time when we sent the car, somewhere for it to be, a few things to be tied up. Unfortunately, the guys, they'd removed one of the coolant hoses, right, and they forgot to tie it back correctly. So what then ended up happening is we lost all the coolant. Just driving, I think we drove just a few 100 meters, and then we lost all the coolant. What then prompted me to stop was not because of the gauges, because the gauges were not telling me correct information. They were actually misinforming me, right? What prompted me to stop was the fact that I smelled a very distinct smell, right? And I had to stop the car to check, and I saw we were losing coolant, right? And if it wasn't for that, I don't know what could have happened. In fact, that's the reason why I believe that green coolant is actually very good, right? Because when it burns, it smells. Different from water, because when water starts to spill, you won't even smell anything. So that's been the issue. So what I ended up doing is I ended up getting this from Amazon. Right? This box came from Amazon, right? And it's got a new water temperature gauge that we are going to be testing. We're going to be scientific this time. We're going to test it to see if it works proper, and then we're also going to test it against the diagnostic tool to see that it works proper. So that's what this episode is going to be all about. I think you can begin to appreciate that I'm the kind of person who just likes things which are reliable. I'm the kind of person who also likes to make sure that all the builds that we're making, they are always at a very high degree of reliability. So this is what we are going to be doing in this video, testing this gauge and making sure that it works as it should. So this is the gauge that we got, and you can see there's nothing really special about it. It's a no-name brand, and that's what we keep on getting. You go on your Amazon, you go on your eBay, mostly this is what you get, because we ordered this from the UK, right? So I even looked for the AEM and the Innovate Motorsports, but those seem to actually be difficult to find. So but this time we didn't get from eBay, because one of my friends told me that on eBay sometimes you get some of those worst quality things, so try Amazon. So I tried Amazon this time, and I don't know what kind of results I get. I guess we'll see as we are testing. So the first thing that we must do is to take out the old sensor and the old aftermarket gauge and compare with the new one, right? Any differences, and then compare how they perform. So that's what we are going to do.
Makaisunga zvichimambo iyi futi yakashama try Mdarama kasunga apa singatomboita achatombobvi.
So you hold them side by side, they look similar, right? Probably the newer one, right, looks a bit shorter, but the other one just, I mean, they just look the same, right? There is not much difference when you're looking at them. The other one is scorched because it's been inside the hot coolant for a longer time. That one is brand new, but they just look the same. So this is the gauge that we got, and you can see there's nothing really special about it. It's a no-name brand, and that's what we keep on getting. You know, we you go on your Amazon, you go on your eBay, mostly this is what you get, because we ordered this from the UK, right? So I even looked for the AEM and the Innovate Motorsports, but those seem to actually be difficult to find. So but this time we didn't get from eBay, because one of my friends told me that on eBay sometimes you get some of those worse quality things, so try Amazon. So I tried Amazon this time, and I don't know what kind of results I get. I guess we'll see as we are testing. So we had two cups here, right? The blue cup has got water which is boiling, which we just boiled, right? And then the other smaller cup has got water which is at room temperature. So we're going to test each of the sensors. We want to see the kind of readings that we are going to get from each of the sensors, and then we can determine whether it's working properly, because obviously where we have boiled water, in that cup we have boiled water, we're expecting to see temperatures showing water which is boiling, right? That's what we want to see. And then for the other one at room temperature, I know it will be around 26ish. So obviously we want to see a lower reading of water temperature, and if they've got a minimum, definitely we're gonna see their minimum. They're just gonna start from a minimum, and that is it.
Posi kuda sokubatidza kaningirike tondazobata kaningirike ndabisa bogus hapana 40 degrees Celsius. Yeah, it's wrong.
And that's the minimum temperature there, right? 40, and it's not rising, and that's water which was boiling, right? So already I can tell it's not working.
Okay, here's some cold water. Still 40 degrees. Bogus. Bogus. Bogus is bogus. Saka chibogi keche because that's boiling water. Let's see if it exceeds 80 degrees Celsius. Nothing. It's a bogus because it's a spanner. I'm going to kurunga bija. Ungati ati here jama makutorera kakapo. Jama
79. 78.
Nah, this one is far much better than Ariboga. Because at least it's actually reading something. You know, talk about true.
No, this is too useless. It's too useless because you want the actual temperature. Because imagine, because if it's ceiling, can I look at a ceiling out at 80 degrees Celsius and I want to be worried if water can over 800 degrees Celsius. And I have to be worried.
Over 150.
Over 100 actually. Only 1 GZ. Meaning 150 makuraya kamotka. 150 makura was over 100 here. Now you start to have issues. I think up to 110 there you start to have issues. So if I'm around 80, I believe I'm okay because Feni Motkarinega, it opens up at that thermostat whatever thing, it opens up at 88. And that's what I've seen. At about 88, you need to actively regulate the temperatures. It opens up the thermo circulator through the. So even when I'm connecting the diagnostic tool, you see that if it reaches 88, 89 whilst I'm driving, actively, you reduce my temperatures. Between fluctuate between 87, 88, 87, 88. I've never seen it for 90. And even the guy does some crazy driving. I've never seen exceeding 90 degrees Celsius. And so this thing is supposed to tell me, that I'm Darama good as it. And it's supposed to tell me what I'm doing makes no sense. But if it cannot exceed 80 degrees Celsius, then it's useless. And you understand? Okay. It's useless because you need it beyond 95 maybe. That's what I want this thing to tell me. No, we are now beyond 95. As turn the car off or something is going on or maybe there's a fan that's not working. Then I park the car but this thing at 80 degrees yet this water is so hot that you can't put a finger for long. This is boiling hot water this is shit. We can put it in, but you know.
To be honest, I'm put off by this gauge, right? But I just decided to hook it up, connect it on the vehicle, and just test and see what it will show against the diagnostic tool. Maybe it will work, I don't know. But at this point, I'm really disappointed. We just have to give it a bit of more time for everything to warm up as it should. Get the sensors to warm up, and then we can check out what the readings show.
Diagnostic tool.
So whilst we wait for the diagnostic tool to connect, you can see this one is also rising, right? But it will be stuck when it gets to the mid part, and this one is showing 57. So we just give it more time for everything to warm up and everything to connect.
So it's at 75, it's 65, 66, still rising.
So I was fully aware that the reason maybe we could be getting a difference in reading is probably because the thermostat hadn't fully opened, so which means water wasn't circulating. So I had to rev it so that I get the vehicle to temperature where it opens the thermostat, and then we can really get a clearer picture.
And for a drive.
So taking it for a drive was a very good idea because simply because it's supposed to work whilst you're driving. We would then be able to see what the computer is saying is the coolant temperature reading and what the gauge is also telling us to be the actual temperature reading.
So you tell me, can I? We're not even going that far. Later in that, we'll start saying in terms of noise. But 85 minutes.
I was genuinely surprised to see it showing a reading of over 80.
86. Over 86. Yeah. No, we have 84. It's still 86. It's 86, 86. No, we are 87. But English marks out it like 80. So temperatures those ones are going to say. It's going at 88, 87.
So at this point, I think we had gathered enough data for us to come to a conclusion, so we had to turn back.
Okay, here we go. So it shows slightly higher. But that anger to the low. Yeah, but probably because the anger said they have to put out
And then 89, by change 89, they have better 82. They have better 92.
I think I
Yeah, but the same degree. But 1 degree, 1 degree.
Oh. So I should be at the same time. Now it's 93. What does it say there?
It's 8 and 9.
So it's still 83. It's about a degree.
From 8 to 8.
Oh, it's 8. Okay, let's see when it drops. I'm observing here, so when it drops, it should drop there too.
So what ended up happening with this gauge is that it ended up showing almost the same reading that we were getting on the diagnostic tool. They would just differ by 2 degrees or 3, right? And at the same time that the temperature on the diagnostic tool drops even by a single degree, the one on the gauge would even drop as well by a degree as well. So it seemed to be almost accurate, right? Almost accurate. And for me, this is very important. Accuracy is also important to me because I'm saying, let's say I'm going to participate in motorsports with this car. I should be able to know that the temperatures are getting to a point that I'm not supposed to keep on doing abusing the car, so to say. I'm not supposed to keep on pushing the limits with the car, right? I need a mechanism that tells me that things are not going well. So I just don't, at this point, I don't understand why when I did the water experiment, I ended up having it ended up showing me maxing out at 80, right, as you saw. Yet that was water which had actually boiled, right? Of course, maybe there was just a few minutes from, not minutes, seconds from the point that we took it out of the pot and put it in a cup, but I don't think it should have shown such a huge and by the way, I know that water, it doesn't boil at 100 degrees Celsius in Harare, simply because we are not at sea level. We are probably several 100 meters above sea level, so obviously it's gonna boil less, maybe 95, I think. So I was expecting the temperature to be shown there to be towards your 90s, right? That's what I was expecting. I would have then said, oh, then that's okay. I know it condemned this gauge, but it seems to be working for now. I'm just gonna be monitoring it and just seeing if it's gonna stay durable, if it's gonna work as time goes on. For me, this is very important. Everything has to work as it should. Everything must reflect correct information so that I can always make the right judgment when I'm really driving my car.